Your players talked about a complete defensive effort for 4 quarters, and could you speak for that because you really seem to frustrate and take a lot of things out of possibly their game.
Yeah, I think, we've talked a lot about putting 4 quarters together. I think defensively we definitely did that. As I'm out there watching it, and I've felt it in practice, we're just starting to catch up. We're starting to figure some things out. We're starting to grow up, and we're starting to catch up. I've got to give Rodney Hill his flowers. He had an excellent scouting report against Kentucky, came with a great game plan, and we followed it to a T. And it worked immediately, and it worked for 40 minutes. And so our players were already bought into it. But when you see the immediate results of it, once the game gets going, you just feed into it even more. I thought that they were locked in and focused and made just, Kentucky is so good. Georgia Amore is so good. You've got to force them to make tough shots. And what's crazy is they make a lot of tough shots. And so our what we were saying is they've got to make the tough shots and we can't give them easy shots. And then there was a stretch where in the third quarter they got a bunch of easy shots. They got out in transition, they got up 9, and we were able to bow our back and get some stops and make some big time plays on the offensive end of the floor.
You feel like the intensity kind of amped up those last few minutes of the fourth quarter. Kind of what was there some sort of shift there down the stretch to close out this game?
I just think it's just finishing, right? This is right now we've got to finish a game, and certainly can't lack intensity. And also, we were coming out of a timeout where they had beaten us to 2 loose balls off of an offensive rebound, and so we were no more, no more. And so they just did a really good job of responding and recognizing the moment, and everybody turned up their play.
Saw visible emotion from especially some of your older players, Lauren and AC. Just a lot of these games, it's come down to the stretch sometimes, and you're not able to pull it out. Just what does it mean, especially for morale and confidence, to be able to pull one out like this?
But our players trust us so much. We've been able to come in after a hard loss. Come in after a poor showing on the road at Oklahoma or a hard loss against number 2 South Carolina, and be able to show them things and have positive feedback and have positive correction, and they come out and respond the right way. And so when you have a team that trusts you and that trusts each other and they respond the right way, you hope that they get everything they want out of this moment because they've worked so hard for it. And I'm just happy for them. I hope they are proud of what they accomplished. I will also say we've talked a ton about our schedule and how it started. And, our first 6 out of 7 games being against top 25 opponents, it prepared us for tonight.
What about where maybe taking an ill-advised 3 and then
Yeah.
look and she comes out of nowhere? Even Kenny talked about that block. Obviously you talked to her about being a leader, but just talk about immediate deal of making up for maybe something that wasn't smart and then having maybe one of the plays of the game.
No, goodness. I mean, twice in a row. I mean, she takes the 3. I think she was excited, right? Fine. Lauren doesn't do that a lot. So even though the timing of that wasn't great, it's hard to fuss at Lauren because she just doesn't do things like that. So with her, you take the good and the bad because there's hardly ever any bad as it relates to the decision she makes on the basketball floor. But, when a player can make a mistake and then immediately turn around that same possession and get it back, it's impressive. And so she comes down and she blocks a shot, and then the next possession, I believe she blocks another one. And so again, she was like, "My bad, I got you." And when Lauren says, "I got you," you're like, "Okay."
Well, the players, said that that they followed the game plan. 4 quarters, and might be the first time that such a complete game where they've stuck to that game plan. Why do you think that is right now?
Well, I just think again we're maturing. We're continuing to get better. We've got our resolve has gotten better. Our mental aspect of our game is continuing to grow as much as it is what we're doing on the floor. You got to remember we've got a really young team, and we've got some players who haven't played a ton or have been absent in some years. And so I think all of it is just coming together at the right time, and we still have a long way to go. This was a great win for us. It was a great win for our fans at home. But we've still got work to do. And so our conversation is always how do you stay neutral, right? And I think we did a good job of not getting too low. We've got to make sure now we don't do a good job. We do a great job of not getting too high and staying neutral, knowing that there's still more games in front of us that are behind us in a really, really tough league.
How big was it for Aisha to see those first couple buckets go in, and it just seemed like that kind of set the tone for
Yeah.
her game.
She's due. I mean, she was due for a game like that. She's made some of those same plays the last couple of nights out, and the ball just hasn't gone in the hole. So I think what we saw tonight was her continue to trust the game plan, trust the spots that we put her in, and the ball went in for her. But she was due for a big game.
How much along those lines, 19 shots for her, but like it didn't feel like she was ever forcing it.
Yeah.
Her area was like predetermined. Was it just any part of conversations with her about taking control when she sees a chance to, or did she just really let the game come to her like that, or?
Well, we just kept calling her number. I mean, we kept calling some plays for her once we realized kind of how they were guarding her, whether they put 32 on her or put Lawrence on her, whoever they put on her. We just called plays accordingly. So we just kept calling her number. So all the shots that she took, they weren't forced, as you said, but she got those shots because we kept calling her package. All of our players have packages, and so when you see her playing the way she is tonight, you just keep calling packages for AC. And the good thing for her and for us is that she's got a long package.
Yesterday, you talked about just being able to limit their 3-point shooting.
Yeah.
You held them one of 18 tonight behind the arc. Just how pleased were you with their execution?
It was great. Our game plan was to run them off the 3-point line. Listen, if you let Kentucky catch and shoot threes, you're in for a long night because they're so good at what they do. And so for us, it was about making sure we tried to limit them in transition. When they were able to get out in transition, we were able to stop it and get it under control. And then they've got to beat us at twos, because we can't trade twos for threes. And so again, it was just now they missed some. They had some looks too that they just missed, but I think that also was because of how aggressive we were to start in terms of running them off the 3-point line.
And how were you able to continue your defensive game plan when Ware and AC both picked up 2 fouls early, and even though Kentucky was in the lead in the first half, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
They didn't take advantage of them being out.
Well, we put them back in too. Normally we sit them. We didn't sit them because they both were playing well, and I didn't want them to lose that momentum. But listen, I think every single one of our guards that played ended up guarding Georgia. I think they all, and that's the beauty of who we are defensively and who we can be. Erica Moon can guard her, so can Talia Parker, so can Kendall, so can Janae. And so we just were able to continue to give her fresh legs to hopefully, have her think about, like, Talia's going to guard you one way, and then AC is going to guard you another. And then you got Erica and Soleil, who are smaller and going to get up under you. And so we just tried to keep giving her as many different looks as possible.
Talk about the maturity of the team with those two, Lauren and AC, is especially like she said, playing with that early foul trouble, yet still factoring in on defensive. And how is that pretty rare to have players like that you can trust that much to maybe a little bit of a bind with their foul situation, but they're going to be able to play smart the rest of the way.
I think that's earned. I think definitely AC has earned that. Lauren's earned that. Sahara has earned that. They've been in enough situations, they understand how valuable they are, where you can trust putting them in. Now, you may not do it for 10, 15 minutes straight, but you can choose your moments to get them back in, especially in a game when we had good momentum and you don't want them to go cold.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.